Hello and welcome to a full feature breakdown of the upcoming changes in the 1.1 Europa Universalis V update. This update is a significant step in our vision to craft a Europa Universalis experience that will only expand in years to come. An experience crafted by both us here at Paradox Tinto and you, the devoted Europa Universalis community. In this video, we will cover every major change that you can expect when you play this new version, outside of the extensive bug fixes that will also be arriving. There's a lot to cover, so let's get right in, starting with new gameplay. If you're stuck with a vassal that's more trouble than it's worth, there's now a solution. A new transfer subject diplomatic action lets you hand off a subject to another country in exchange for ducats, making it easier to clean up your diplomatic mess or just make some money in hard times. While we're talking about vassals, diplomatic annexation has been adjusted to increase with diplomatic spending. Decentralization and centralization values also now impact the speed of diplomatic annexation, with decentralization reducing the speed of annexation and centralization increasing it. One of the most ambitious foundations of Europa Universalis V is its emulation of control and how you, the player, manage a rising global empire. From the game's inception, we've experimented with different systems to represent this while still having a good interplay between many of our core systems. With that in mind, we have reworked how proximity interacts with the EU5 game board. It will now be far harder to stack proximity across an empire without vital infrastructure. What vital infrastructure, do you ask? Well, we're adding a brand new building, the local governor. This building functions as a secondary capital, providing a massive +80 proximity source. To construct it, you'll need to build a direct road connection between your capital and the city location where the local governor will be placed. With this, we hope to create a more realistic simulation of empire governance and management. Estates now receive income from your lack of control. In prior calculations, any tax revenue you did not collect was simply removed from your nation. But now, in 1.1, this money will be divided by the estate within a location, depending on their local power. Global estate power is increased by the amount of money that they will have stored in their coffers, up to 200%, and the estates now also have a wider array of buildings that will combat you, the player, and your rule, such as the noble's local court building that reduces the control in a location. Keeping your estate satisfied is now of paramount importance. 1.1 also introduces new tools for managing cultural relations. Previously, you could only request another culture to improve its relationship towards your primary culture. Now, however, you can also change how your primary culture views other cultures. As nobody likes to manage a 50% peasant revolt every 2 months, there will now be a minimum threshold for rebellions. However, this does not mean that you should not worry about rebellious elements of your population in your territories, because under that threshold, you will still receive a debuff from the rebellious pops. Also, to keep you from waiting too long for rebellions to fire, you can now provoke rebels, instantly triggering a rebellion instead of waiting for it to fire naturally. For empires, there's a new thing to watch out for, and it's complacency. This mechanic only shows up if you have fired major disasters, like the decline of Majapahit, the decline of Mali, or the dissolution of Delhi. This is now designed so that large empires now feel the full brunt and weight of crushing late-game crises. Turning now to war and economy, diversifying your army composition is now important because of a new mechanic: combined arms. This is a bonus modifier that buffs your army the more diverse your army composition is. This occurs when you have no more than 50% of a unit type in your army, gaining a 5% combat power across the entire army for each type of unit in that army that composes over 10% of that army. This roughly translates to: the more diverse your army is, the harder it will hit. Adjustments have been made to levies to keep them more relevant in the early stages of the game, and unit sizes have been changed to be bigger in the early and mid-game. Additionally, army formation templates exist, so you can organize and balance your army in different ways with just a click of a button. To finance your war effort, minting is now more in-depth, with new minting laws, allowing you to choose which type of resource to mint coins in between gold, silver, and even copper in special situations such as with Sweden. This choice will impact the amount you earn from minting and the demand for the goods in your capital market, as well as your inflation. And finally, let's talk about some diverse gameplay modifications. Colonial charters have been reworked. Previously, the threshold to colonize was determined by the percentage of primary religion or primary accepted culture sent to the charter. Now, in 1.1, the threshold to colonize a colonial charter is determined by the number of pops sent to the location, with that threshold determined by power projection and the amount of local pops in that colonial charter. Slaves will now naturally move around markets to places with RGOs or slave building positions open, allowing a location to get slaves from another location that has a surplus. Finally, for gameplay changes, are you fighting into a defensive league and want to break it up? Now the Annul Treaties peace option breaks up defensive leagues by removing a target nation from any leagues they might share with the peace target. Next, we'll be looking at the new content coming with this patch. First of all, some of the historically significant HRE nations, such as Hesse, Cologne, the Palatinate, Trier, and Austria, as well as members of the Hanseatic League, are gaining new advances. In addition to this, we're adding culture-specific advances for many of the German cultures. This accompanies an overall improvement to the Holy Roman Empire, with multiple bug fixes, a properly working imperial treasury, and better AI gameplay within the empire. Staying within the empire, a new disaster has been added for Brandenburg, the Turmoil in Brandenburg. This disaster was made to make the gameplay for the Brandenburgisch Volkswaldemar, Wittelsbacher Neglect, and Robber Barons event chains to be better visualized and formulate a better early game gameplay experience. Jumping outside of Europe, AQ and QQ are now back in EU5 and have been added into the game as a possible Turkmen revolter states for the Sutiyids and the Horde of the Jailerids. On the religious side of things, Tengriism now has 8 unique deities to choose from, just like the other pagan religions. Coming in version 1.1 are some changes to the existing situations within Europa Universalis V, which are worth looking at. Starting with the Sengoku Jidai, the system in which clans within Japan become a landed state in the start of the situation has now been changed. Now, clans with the most buildings in a location will take the territory, making it more clear how the realm will divide. Next, the Red Turban Rebellion. We're adding a new action to nations participating in the situation called demanding annexation, which will allow a warlord to demand the full annexation of another warlord. If the offer is declined, this will spark a war. This will add additional dynamicism to the situation, sparking wars more frequently, but also creating a better system for warlords to reunite the Middle Kingdom. In addition to this, warlords will gain extra cabinet slots once they establish their superiority and wrestle control of China. Further west, a new action has been added to the Timurids during the Rise of Timur situation, called the Declare Conquest Ambition. This action will allow you to choose an adjacent region as your desired region of conquest. After doing so, using the Plan Invasion action will also declare war immediately on nations in that specific region, instead of just creating a CB. The Conquest Ambition action also makes an entire region easier for the Timurids to occupy and conquer by significantly increasing the siege ability for the Timurids within that specific region. An AI Timurids has now also been made to deal with the situation better, with the historical AI always choosing Persia as their first region of conquest. The Council of Trent has also seen a significant change. Now, its outcome is determined by the traits of the various policies that are passed compared to the religious policies that were in place beforehand, rather than relying on if a debate was successful or not. This means even if a bunch of debates failed, as long as the doctrines are as close enough to the Protestant belief system, for example, the situation will now end with Catholics and Protestants seeing each other as kindred. The Hussite Wars have been reconstructed in patch 1.1. Our main objective was to recalibrate the gravity of the conflict and bolster the Catholic response, whilst ensuring that Bohemia retains a viable path to victory. As such, defying Rome as Bohemia will be a bigger challenge in 1.1. To achieve this, we've adjusted the pace of the situation. Several key events and decisions now feature longer cooldowns to prevent the Hussites from becoming an unstoppable force too early, such as reducing the frequency of the common enemy event for Bohemia. While on the other side, the Catholic powers will find the suppress Hussitism war goal easier to enforce. The Catholic faith will also now have more support. It's easier to join the Pope on its crusade against heresy, and the Catholic countries surrounding Bohemia will now be more inclined to intervene should the Holy See face crushing defeats. Finally, we're introducing a new specific unit action, the Hussite Tribunal. This is available to Catholic armies occupying a provincial capital during any war declared during the situation between the Pope and Bohemia. This action allows those armies to convert some of the local population back to Catholicism. Outside of the situations we already discussed, minor improvements have been made to the Sengoku Jidai, the Western Schism, and the 100 Years' War, with the aims to create better gameplay within these situations. But the core tenets haven't been adapted. You can explore all of this, as well as 17 UI improvements, 16 quality of life additions, and the multitude of new game art and character attire that has been added in patch 1.1 in our open beta, coming February 3rd. We'll of course be sharing our patch notes alongside this open beta, so that you can dive into the nitty-gritty of everything we've discussed today and more. Finally, patch 1.1 will also see the addition of 7 new achievements to be added to the game, the likes of which we will go into more details of in a future YouTube short, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. Let us know in the comments down below what feature you're most excited about, and we will see you next time. Just remember, be ambitious.